Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever find yourself scrolling through social media and suddenly wondering if that feeling of being overwhelmed actually means you have a specific mental health condition? Is it just you, or does it seem like everyone else is labeling themselves with a diagnosis these days? Researchers Nina Higson-Sweeney and Lucy Foulkes wanted to dig into this exact question. They noticed that more and more teenagers are using clinical words like depression or anxiety to describe their daily struggles. Their big question was simple but important. Why do teenagers do this? And how do they actually feel about the trend of self-diagnosing? A lot of scientists call this the prevalence inflation hypothesis, which is a fancy way of saying there might be more reports of mental health issues because we are all getting better at talking about them, or perhaps because we are overinterpreting normal human ups and downs as something medical. To find out what was going on, the researchers interviewed 24 adolescents between the ages of 13 and 17. The goal was to hear it from their perspective rather than just guessing. They sat down for one-on-one chats to talk about the reasons behind self-diagnosis, whether it is actually a good thing or a bad thing, and how the internet play a role in all of this. They wanted to know about how teens decide if a label is legit or if it is just someone looking for attention. The researchers found that teens are actually quite picky about who they believe. They have a shared internal rulebook for judging if a self-diagnosis is real. If someone has done their research and is using the label to get help or understand their own brain better, their peers tend to be pretty supportive. But if they think someone is just using a term to excuse bad behavior or to act cool, the empathy disappears. It is really interesting to see how these teens view the process. They see self-diagnosis as a kind of double-edged sword. On one hand, it is a way to gain a sense of identity and relief, because having a name for your pain makes it feel less like a defect and more like a human experience. But on the other hand, they are genuinely worried about misinformation. They see how quickly a trend on a social media app can turn into a viral label. If you do not have the right knowledge, you might be grabbing onto a diagnosis that just does not fit. This brings us to a huge part of the conversation, which is why this is even happening. The researchers discovered that for many, there is a very practical reason for all of this. Trying to get a formal diagnosis through the healthcare system can be a nightmare of long waiting lists and confusing paperwork. For many of these kids, self-diagnosis is not some act of rebellion. It is a survival strategy. If you cannot get a doctor to see you for months or years, you look for answers where you can. The study showed that modern life is pretty much the perfect environment for this habit, because we are all constantly connected to platforms that serve us content based on what we already like to watch. These algorithms can create a bubble where it feels like everyone you know is going through the exact same thing, even if you are just seeing a tiny, curated slice of the internet. When you constantly see clips about mental health, your brain starts to look for patterns that might not actually be there. One of the coolest parts about this study is how it shows that teens are not just blindly following trends. They know there are problems with it. They are worried about the self-fulfilling prophecy, which is basically the fear that if you tell yourself you are depressed, you will start acting in ways that make you feel even worse, simply because you think you are supposed to. Now, looking at the strengths and weaknesses of this, I think it is brilliant that the researchers teamed up with a young person's advisory group. Having actual teenagers help design the study means the questions were ones that really mattered to them, not just to older adults, guessing at what it is like to be a teen today. The biggest limitation is that this is a small group from a specific part of the world and mostly from one cultural background. It does not represent every single teenager everywhere. We still need to hear from more diverse voices to see if these trends hold up globally. Still, the message here is loud and clear. We need to stop viewing self-diagnosis as just an annoying trend and start seeing it as a symptom of a system that is struggling to keep up with the needs of young people. If we want to fix this, we need to make professional help more accessible and provide better, more balanced education so that kids do not have to turn to a trending hashtag to explain why they are hurting. I really think this research teaches us that if we want to change things, we have to start by listening. Judging the younger generation for trying to figure themselves out within a broken system is not going to solve anything. Instead, we need to focus on creating spaces where they can get the real support they need without having to wait in line for months. I would love to know what you think about this. Do you think labeling our emotions helps us manage them? Or do you think it can sometimes lock us into feelings we might otherwise move past? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, please give this video a like and hit that subscribe button to join our community here at the Mind Lab. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.